Chapter 7. Overcoming a Curse. When the sun rose once more in Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen's set of measures were announced to the majority. He went public about every choice he had. Chunin promotions changes to the healthcare in the village by nominating Senju Tsunade as the head doctor of the hospital, followed by better efficiency in scouting missions. While many would question the man's decision about promoting the Kyuubi brat to Chunin, no one dared to openly oppose, seeing as the brat's efforts in the invasion managed to save the academy from a group of sound ninjas. The boy had also the backing of many elite shinobi in the likes of Hitaki Kakashi and the head of the Nara clan Shikaku. Not to mention the backing of an Umbu captain who saw his skill with the sword. Hiruzen knew that his last announcement would shock everyone, especially his war hawk rival Danzu. When he stated that he would step down as Hokage and nominate Hitaki Kakashi for the job, he had received a load of different responses. Many in Konoha respected Kakashi for his achievements at the last Great Ninja War, so a great majority of the ninja population approved the nomination. Surely the clan heads were in favor of the son of White Fang. While neither of them wished the Sandaime Hokage to retire, they all knew the problems old age can do to a shinobi, even someone as powerful as Hiruzen Sarutobi, taught by both the previous Hokage. When the Yondaime Hokage took the hat, he solidified the village as most powerful of the elemental nations. The clan heads were sure that Kakashi, despite his apparent boredom with everything around, would do well as Godaime Hokage. Kakashi even received backing from his old genin team, even if two of them were already Chunin and about to embark on a journey with his sensei's teacher Jiraiya. Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto congratulated their sensei for the position. They were quite sad that Kakashi wouldn't be training with them anymore, to which Kakashi smiled. Naruto and Sasuke, you two are Chunin now. Your skills will only skyrocket now that you have access to higher level missions and higher level jutsu to learn. He smiled at both of them before dismissing them, since they had to meet up with Jiraiya in a few minutes. Kakashi could see Sakura's dejected look upon not being praised by her sensei like the other two were. Sakura, just because circumstances didn't allow you to show your skills last Chunin exams doesn't mean you won't have the opportunity in the next ones. Seeing as Aburane Shino was promoted to Chunin as well, Kurenai's team is short of one member. I'm placing you under her care. It didn't help improve her mood at all. I understand, sensei. Kakashi smiled at the girl before placing one hand on her right shoulder. Sakura, after seeing your perfect chakra control, I believe you're best suited to become a genjutsu user, and Kurenai happens to be one of Konoha's masters in the field. Thus I placed you under her care. I know that you will do great, and she will be a better teacher to you than I ever was. Also, I was wondering if you would be interested in learning medical ninjutsu? The question surprised the girl as she looked up the first time today. If Naruto and Sasuke are successful in bringing Tsunade-sama back, she will be responsible for creating a new batch of field medic nin in Konoha. From what Sandaime told me, it was one of her side projects when she was in Konoha. What do you think? I have a feeling that you can become just as great as her in the field. You really think I can be as good as a Sannin sensei? Kakashi could only smile at the question filled with hope. Yes, I do, Sakura. In fact, I believe that you, Sasuke and Naruto, can easily become the next generation of the Sannin. I must warn you though. Both fields, genjutsu and medical ninjutsu, are quite theory demanding. You must work hard in order to grasp every single detail there is to know about these two arts. If you manage, which I have utmost faith you will, I can promise you will become just as good as Tsunade of the Sannin is, if not better. By now Sakura's mood was definitely better, and she nodded with a big smile on her face. I'll make you proud of me, sensei. I already am, Sakura. I already am. Now you are to meet Kurenai at training ground number 8 2 hours from now for your team meeting. Work hard and always listen to what Kurenai has to teach you. I promise you will do great under her tutelage. Sakura nodded and said goodbye to the new Hokage. Kakashi watched the girl leaving with a smile on his face. Despite his wishes to simply increase the girl's confidence, he didn't mislead her in any way. Despite her small chakra reserve, Sakura had it in her to become a great kunoichi in the future, possibly even matching Tsunade if she worked really hard. Sandaime Hokage was remarked in history both for his achievements and his students. Orochimaru Tsunade and Jiraiya were game-changers in the Second Great Ninja War. Perhaps Kakashi could be remembered as the one who taught the second generation of the Sannin. Naruto, Jiraiya, and Sasuke. Naruto and Sasuke met up with Jiraiya at the gates. They exchanged a few words introducing each other before heading out. "Okay brats, as the Sandaime instructed, you two will aid me in finding my teammate Tsunade and convince her to come back to Konoha. I don't know how long it will take to find her, so let's go. Since we don't have a specific time frame to complete this mission, we can do other things as well as search for her. I'll be focusing on training you two in the meantime." Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other for a while before nodding in clear anticipation. The man may look nothing special to both Chunin, but both of them knew his status as one of the Sannin. So they started following the perverted Sannin towards his quest to finding his lost teammate and bring her back. When the trip towards finding his teammate started, Jiraiya admitted to not having a clue as what to expect from the two Chunin that were now accompanying him. He had heard from third parties how hyperactive and obnoxious his godson was, and he also knew how arrogant Uchiha Sasuke was regarding others. It came out as a surprise to the man when neither Chunin acted as he expected. He understood from the Hokage that both Naruto and Sasuke had their fair share of kills in the invasion, thus he understood at least part of the reason why Naruto and Sasuke were so reserved, actually being quiet for a change. It has been 4 hours since they left the hidden village in the leaves, and Jiraiya had set a couple exercises for both Chunin. Like his sensei expected, both younger shinobi were thrilled to improve. Naruto received tips on how to improve his taijutsu and kenjutsu as well as refining his wind manipulation. Sasuke was taught a couple of higher-ranked fire techniques. The trip didn't have a specific time set, so it could either take 1 week to an entire month, perhaps even more. Jiraiya even placed them against each other from time to time, supplying tips here and there. Sasuke had more agility, but Naruto was stronger, ending with them balancing each other. One peculiar aspect of Naruto's taijutsu is that his body pretty much reacted on its own when it was supposed to evade Sasuke's blows. Sasuke even attempted to activate the Sharingan, but for some reason he just couldn't get a solid hit on Naruto. If the pervert knew Madarashi Anko correctly, then Naruto's evasion may be due to Anko using the brat as a practice dummy for the entire month. Eventually he would need to learn how to evade properly or die otherwise. Sasuke though considered just another challenge, and everyone knew how infuriated he became when he couldn't complete an exercise. He even increased his speed, but Naruto trained with a Jounin. Sasuke needed to match Anko's speed or even surpass it in order to land a hit on Naruto. Meanwhile, Naruto was getting the opportunity to practice his taijutsu skills against Sasuke. Granted that the team's Sharingan managed to follow his every move, he knew that if he could face the Sharingan in straight combat, then he would manage to face anyone else with a much improved odds of success. Since Sasuke didn't have a sword, Jiraiya forbade them from sparring using it. He also forbade the pair from activating the cursed seal while practicing. Of course, Sasuke protested for a while but relented due to the amount of fire techniques he was being taught. Naruto on the way chose to perform the movements learned by Anko while traveling. Since he could focus wind chakra throughout the metal, he ended up training on elemental manipulation as well. Jiraiya had supplied Naruto some exercises as well, saying that Naruto must first master the element manipulation exercises before learning any of the wind jutsu the Sannin was familiar with. After practicing for a while, Naruto looked to Sasuke and stopped his practice when he noticed that Sasuke was looking at him with his jujutsu activated. "Oi team, do you mind not copying it? I worked my ass off to learn these moves, and I will be damned if I let you copy it with those eyes of yours." It was by sheer luck that the blonde was only performing the most basic movements, or else he would lose his edge over Sasuke. The Uchiha for his turn snorted at that and deactivated his eyes as the trio was busy walking throughout the clearing. Jiraiya found the interaction quite amusing. He was beginning to see just why the Hokage wished to place these two together in future assignments. He was surprised though when Naruto approached him with his sword inside the scabbard. "Ero-sensei, do you know where this Tsunade person is? How long is this trip going to take exactly?" Sasuke was busy going through the sequence of hand seals for the Daenden, Grand Fireball, technique, seeing as the Sannin wasn't interested in performing the technique for him to copy. Looking at the blonde brat, Jiraiya frowned at the nickname but answered nonetheless. Tsunade Haim is quite slippery brat. It's hard to track her movements. I know which city she is in all the time, but she always manages to leave before I arrive. It's quite infuriating actually. Until we find her and convince her to come back to Konoha, this mission will go on, meaning it could go on for a couple of months depending on how long it takes for us to find her. Now you two brats must take this opportunity and stop complaining. It's after all an honor to be trained by the almighty Jiraiya of the Sannin. The pervert even made his trademark pose, earning a sigh in dismay from the Chunin in front of him. For hours into this trip, and it was the third time Jiraiya showed them the pose. When it was clear that the Chunin weren't impressed, Jiraiya scowled at them, complaining about the young's lack of respect. Okay brats, from what I heard from your files, you two have elements that focus mainly on offensive. You two lack a good defensive jutsu. He could see that neither were very interested in, which made him frown. Defense techniques are useful in the battlefield, brats. There will be times when you can't anticipate everything in the middle of the fight and a kunai pierces your chest. Trust me when I say that neither of you would survive too long in a full-scale war. Now I will teach you two a relatively easy jutsu that can very well save your lives as well as the life of your comrades in the future. Tell me how familiar you are with kekai, barrier, techniques? Jiraiya had to smirk at their dumbfounded looks in response. Rumored to be created by the Rakudu Sannin, kekai techniques serve both for defensive and tracking purposes. We'll focus with defensive type technique, and I'll teach you two a technique called kekai Tenai Hojin, barrier technique, dome method formation. While not as strong as the Hyuga's Kaiten, this technique can stop projectiles thrown at mid to long range. It can stop also projectiles from close range, but it requires a lot more chakra to sustain a considerable barrier. Don't even consider using it against elemental techniques. It won't hold no matter how much chakra you use. If you wish to stop elemental techniques, either you learn water or earth manipulation, the two elements that are better suited for defense. Now this barrier technique is simple in theory but hard to master. Simply join both hands as if you're praying and release chakra through every tenketsu in your body at the same time. Of course the first attempts were quite pitiful, but Jiraiya considered that the two had enough training to finish. They would master it eventually though. In a couple hours' time they would set up camp for the night. Neither of them was in any rush to find Tsunade, and Jiraiya figured that both Sasuke and Naruto could use a little vacation after the invasion. In Konoha, the village was quite busy with the necessary reparations because of the invasion. Shinobi and kunoichi from all ranks were busy going through some chores in order to assist the village in every way possible. That's why two individuals wearing black robes with red clouds were standing on top of the wall that protected the village from its enemies pretty much unnoticed. The big one had a strange object strapped on his back wrapped by white bandages. Despite the bamboo hats covering their faces, the bigger man's amusement was quite clear at the sight before him. Konoha has suffered quite the blow, doesn't it? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. His amusement was even more pronounced when he saw that his partner hadn't uttered a single word upon seeing his homeland destroyed. Let's go. Swiftly vanishing from their position, the two individuals quietly walked inside the village before dispersing towards the merchant district. Watching them doing it may seem as if entering announced inside the strongest hidden village was nothing more than a walk in the park. However, had they wasted 2 more seconds, both would be caught by the Umbu patrol that appeared where the two men were standing. Their purpose in Konoha was to find a certain shinobi. A genin by the records obtained from their spy, and a lousy one at that. From what they learned by the mission specs, it wouldn't take long for their target to show in their line of sight. According to the spy, the shinobi, if they could call him that based on the intel, wore orange base clothes and was a master of directing all the attention to him and him only. However, after walking close to 2 hours throughout the village, there was no sign of their target anywhere. Assuming that he isn't dead, I believe he is not in the village. Spoke the tallest, earning a slight nod from the smallest. We may as well leave the area then. I'll give 15 seconds before our disguise is blown. The smallest one, being a local, possessed extensive knowledge of the village's defenses. They were out of the village before anyone knew they were even there to begin with. If they are lucky enough, the Jinchuriki's chakra residue would guide them towards his location. At the Hokage's office. Unaware of exactly who was taking a walk inside the village, both Hiruzen and Kakashi were busy going through some of the routine that entailed being the Hokage. No matter how many hours the two were at it, Hiruzen couldn't help but smile at the prospect of not having to deal with this dreaded paperwork anymore. Plus the fact that Kakashi since 2 hours ago started murmuring silent curses every time a new topic appeared was much too entertaining for the old man. Minato was the same, Hiruzen mused. Hiruzen's case was worse, seeing as he was nominated Sandaime Hokage in the middle of a mission with the Nidaime Hokage. The man sacrificed himself to allow Hiruzen and others to return to Konoha. Stop complaining, Kakashi-kun. In my time the Nidaime wasn't able to do this with me. I had to teach everything myself. Despite knowing about this, Kakashi couldn't help himself. Right now my body is complaining on autopilot, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen let out a long warm laugher at hearing this. Now you know why I thought twice before taking over once Minato perished. Okay, now let's go through the list of Umbu shinobi and their skills. It will be your job to memorize every shinobi in Konoha, starting from your personal guards. Like Kakashi said prior, even before he nodded his head, his mouth was already full of curse words. As they went through the different branches of the Umbu Special Forces, Kakashi couldn't help but wonder how none of the Hokage became insane. With Naruto. It was already night time, so Jiraiya ushered his Chunin companions to set up camp, as well as some traps hidden around the campsite. The barrier technique both were attempting ended up not being as easy. Sasuke had already given up trying to complete it, stating with a bit of arrogance that he didn't need to learn defensive techniques because his Sharingan could pinpoint the attacks on his person. Jiraiya accepted it quite quick, not really seeing himself convincing the pompous jujutsu user that he should try harder. In all aspects Sasuke was more inclined for elemental ninjutsu, so besides the fire technique he has shown the kid, he might as well improve on his lightning manipulation. Naruto though was a very welcome surprise to the perverted Sannin. Although his Kekai technique wasn't complete, Jiraiya could already see a faint trace of the barrier surrounding the blonde, meaning that Naruto was closer to mastering the jutsu. Jiraiya was actually counting on this, however, seeing as the technique requires large amounts of chakra to perform. Not to mention the fact that Kekai techniques are similar in knowledge to a more powerful and more obscure art known as Fuin Jutsu. Considering Naruto's father and mother's mastery in seals, Jiraiya had no doubt that the boy would inherit the same taste. Perhaps Jiraiya could teach the brat some tips on seals. There was one more Kekai technique that a lot of jounins enjoyed using, called Kekai Hojin no Jutsu, barrier method battle array. Coming to think about it, it would suit Naruto's unpredictable way of fighting. Right now the three shinobi were sitting around the fire while having dinner. Sasuke, while eating, was watching Naruto's curse mark in question. Ever since they left towards searching for Tsunade, he caught on the fact that Naruto's cursed mark, while a different shape, was also a different color than his was. He had actually caught on that at the Forest of Death, but never bothered to question his teammate about why his cursed seal was different. Dobe. Naruto looked up when he heard Sasuke calling him. Why is it that your cursed seal is red when mine is black? Standing on the other side of the fire, Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the question and remembered Naruto explaining the reason why his seal happened to be red. While Sasuke's question wasn't directed towards the S-ranked secret of Naruto's status, the answer to the question certainly would. Nevertheless, the law applied to everyone but Naruto. Being a Chunin, Jiraiya reasoned that if the brat wished to talk about his situation more freely with his teammates, then he was hereby welcome to do so. The perverted Sannin admitted being a little hesitant in wondering what would Naruto's answer be and Sasuke's reaction afterward. Naruto looked at his teammate for a couple of seconds, debating whether or not he should tell the truth or invent something to ease Sasuke's curiosity. Truth be told, he doubted the teen would react negatively to the knowledge, and it would actually be quite a relief if he managed to get it out of his system. Being a veteran shinobi, Jiraiya released a small sigh as he realized that Naruto would open up to Sasuke about his situation. A part of him still considered it too soon though. Before answering your question, Sasuke, I want to know, how much do you know about the Kyuubi no Yoko? Sasuke was slightly surprised at the second question, but gave his teammate everything that was written about the attack on the village that happened 13 years ago. After questioning what the Kyuubi had to do with his first question, Naruto sighed and explained. before I explain the reason of my seal being a different color, I will tell you the real truth of what happened 13 years ago. Sasuke's eyes were narrowed immediately, pretty much demanding an explanation. The academy taught us that the beast was destroyed by the Yondaime Hokage at the cost of his own life, correct? Only that was only the partial truth. The Kyuubi is nothing but a highly condensed and I dare say unlimited source of chakra. Thus it cannot be killed or harmed. In order to save the village, the Yondaime Hokage had no other option but no sacrifice his life using a forbidden Fuinjutsu technique and sealing the beast into a newborn me. Sasuke's eyebrows were still narrowed but only for a little while before his eyes were widened in surprise. Sasuke remembered the time in the Forest of Death when they were facing Orochimaru. At the time Naruto was being thrashed by the Sannin when suddenly an evil aura surrounded his teammate even stronger than the one emitted by the enemy. Sasuke remembered Naruto's red eyes looking back at him that day. At the time he wondered what the hell was that all about. His brain worked hard and started dwelling in Sasuke's earliest memories of his teammate when they were both academy students. Memories of the person in front of him being treated badly by the villagers cursing him immediately appeared in his mind. Demon scum. Die demon die. I can't believe they let the demon roam free like this. He remembered his parents looking at the infant Naruto with clear hatred in their eyes, oftentimes joining the mob in cursing Naruto. For some reason the memory escaped Sasuke's mind until now. After Itachi murdered his clan, Sasuke had bumped with Naruto a couple times and he remembered not seeing why people treated him that way. He did nothing but smile stupidly at everyone, proclaiming to everyone how everyone would respect him for he was one day. Naruto for his part could see Sasuke's eyes were lost in focus, meaning he was remembering events long repressed because the Uchiha clan massacre. Naruto was still wondering if perhaps Sasuke would treat him like everyone else. Why did they hide the truth? Sasuke's question was more directed towards Jiraiya, but Naruto explained it nonetheless. He was slightly hopeful when Sasuke didn't outright attack him or curse him. Sandaime believed that the grown-ups could tell their children their side of the story and thus turn them against me as well. By issuing a law prohibiting anyone to talk about the truth, he hoped that I would have a normal childhood if none of our classmates knew about it. Unfortunately, the plan backfired. While they couldn't explain what really happened to the next generation, they certainly could tell the children not to associate with me, merely saying I was a bad influence. Sasuke indeed remembered both his father and his mother telling him exactly that. He looked at his teammate in deep consideration for a while, wondering about something. Based on the events that surrounded his family, Sasuke ended up inclining to believe that whatever his parents did or didn't do was justified. Oftentimes the boy would lash out at anyone who would oppose that statement. However, now that he heard the truth about the Kyuubi, he became intrigued as to why their parents blamed the Dobe because of the atrocities committed by the nine-tailed demon. Naruto may be annoying as hell, but no matter how many times he observed the blonde, he couldn't see Naruto suddenly destroying everything in its path, ripping human flesh, or even any of the atrocities Kyuubi had committed 13 years ago. He was still the Dobe to Sasuke demon inside of him, or not. Even if what you're speaking is true, I just don't see you as a demon. You are a Dobe and always will be one in my eyes. Naruto couldn't help but smirk at the proclamation. He supposed he should have expected Sasuke to act like this. Jiraiya smirked at this as well and returned to his notes about things in general, going from intel gathering and his personal hobby consisting of adult-rated novels. He was glad that the Uchiha didn't see much into it. Probably so, because Sasuke only heard stories of the fox while the older generation actually witnessed the fox's majestic power, which could only be compared to its terrible atrocities. Naruto for his part was deeply satisfied that his rival couldn't care less about the fox. Sasuke though appeared to speak once more. However, you still haven't answered my question. Why is your seal red? Is it because of the fox? Naruto nodded. Soon after, the damn pedophile gave us a hickey. To this Jiraiya started laughing and Sasuke shuddered. I'd lost consciousness and was immediately inside my mindscape meeting with the beast for the first time. The seal back then, while different in shape than yours, was also black. According to the furball, he could sense that while the seal contained a lot of power, it also contained an attachment to its creator, which the fox believed that Orochimaru could use it to control us in the future. After stating this, I saw the fox's red chakra traveling to the seal engraving and mixing with the black ink. When I looked once more, the seal was red, and according to the fox, Orochimaru's control over me was extinguished, leaving only the power that comes from the seal. Sasuke was deep in thought over this. He wasn't one to refuse power when someone handed it to him, but he wasn't very thrilled about being manipulated by a snake. I may be crazy about even asking this dobe, but can the fox do the same thing to mine? Both Naruto and Jiraiya were immediately uneasy with the sudden question. Kyuubi's chakra, I was told, was corrosive to others, hence how many people died just by being close to the damn beast. I'm immune because the bastard is currently paying rent. Before Naruto could finish his explanation, he suddenly heard a deep and menacing growl emanating inside his head. He closed his eyes for a moment, startling both Sasuke and Jiraiya, the latter already considering his alternative if Kyuubi attempts to escape from Naruto. When his eyes were opened, they were startled to see red eyes instead of blue and a red energy cloak surrounding Naruto's body. Jiraiya was about to move forward and deal with Naruto when the brat spoke in a calm yet deeper voice than usual. Kyuubi said he could grant you this favor, but the procedure is quite painful. He even smirked when he said so I would think twice about it. The Uchiha snorted. Unless it kills me, I'm not worried about pain if it means I'll get stronger. Just do it already. Jiraiya watched the exchange carefully. He now realized the two Chunin were treading a dangerous path right now. He could stop this from happening, but if Naruto was right and he managed to rid Sasuke of Orochimaru's control, the Sannin would lose his battle in acquiring the Sharingan. He was gambling big here, and he knew that should anything happen to Sasuke, he would be the one to blame. He watched as Naruto focused all the Kyuubi's chakra in just his 2 fingers and approached the black cursed seal of heaven located in Sasuke's neck. He could attest that despite his bravery, Sasuke's face was filled with sweat. No doubt it was due to being around the fox's concentrated chakra. It is after all filled with malice and hatred, hence why it's so hard to be controlled. When Naruto's fingers touched the seal, 2 things happened at the same time. The red cloak enveloped Sasuke's entire body, and because of the fox's chakra being corrosive, Sasuke felt as if his body was literally combusting. In between all the pain, Sasuke couldn't help but snarl as he focused all his hatred for Itachi in order to withstand the pain. Naruto and Jiraiya could see the seal going from black to red. The Uchiha screamed in complete agony for 5 minutes before fainting on the ground because of the unbearable pain. After making sure that the Uchiha was comfortable, Jiraiya and Naruto returned to the fireplace. The pervert was pretty relieved that nothing bad happened to the Uchiha, or else his sensei wouldn't stop blaming him for it. Looking at the conscious Chunin eating from his bowl, Jiraiya figured that now it would be the time to teach the boy his father's prized technique, the Rasengan. Jiraiya considered telling Naruto the technique before, but he realized that perhaps Sasuke would like to be taught as well. This technique was meant to be passed to Naruto as it is his inheritance. Smiling, the Sannin grabbed a small scroll and approached Naruto, who had finished eating dinner. After you finish dinner, I'll teach you a very powerful technique. The boy nodded, all too eager to learn new techniques. Awesome. I think I almost getting the hang of the Kekai technique. For some reason though, I thought it would take much longer. Now what is this technique about? Naruto asked before Jiraiya merely smirked and extended his right hand and opened his palm. Naruto was shocked to see a swirl of energy being gathered on Jiraiya's palm before a bright blue energy ball appeared. This is the Rasengan, Naruto. One of the techniques created by the Yondaime Hokage and one that made him infamous throughout the last great ninja war. Because of your chakra capacity and the fact that you excel in close to mid-range fighting, this technique is perfect for you. However, unlike all the other techniques I've taught you so far, to learn the Rasengan it will take a long time for you to use it efficiently. Jiraiya smirked as the blonde looked at the swirling ball of energy in utmost fascination. He was glad the brat wasn't asking questions as to why Jiraiya was teaching him one of the Yondaime's techniques like he did when Jiraiya offered him the summoning contract for the toads. Naruto worshipped the Yondaime Hokage the most, so anything even sort of related to the man himself would completely catch his attention. When Naruto's attention went back to Jiraiya, the pervert began instructing Naruto about the first steps necessary to learn the technique. While training, none of the two could ever foresee that in Naruto using the fox's chakra in Sasuke it ended up changing everything in the Uchiha's life. Inside Sasuke's dream. Ever since the Uchiha massacre, Sasuke Uchiha rarely managed to have a peaceful sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the image of his brother killing his family tormented him to no end. The thing about Sasuke's nightmare is that it's just a repetition of what already happened, not some unjustified fear or even something that was fabricated by one's mind based on these fears. That happened to be one of the reasons why the boy was cranky pretty much every day. He didn't know what Itachi did to him, but every time he closed his eyes the same nightmare appeared. Strangely so, after he succumbed to the pain of receiving a tiny bit of the fox's chakra running through his system, his dream was different. It started pretty much the same. He would open his eyes and see his father and his mother having fun inside their house. However, while first Itachi would appear and slaughter them, now Sasuke was seen walking on the streets with his parents when a mob finally appears up ahead. When the Uchiha family goes to see what is happening, Sasuke is surprised to see Naruto surrounded by people cursing him, calling him all sorts of names. He could see a strange shadow below the blonde of 9 tails swirling around each other. What was strange was how Naruto was taking all this. It was a look he rarely saw in his teammate. Scratch that, it was a look he had never seen his teammate. Naruto was quiet, looking at the mob with his eyes narrowed as if he was expecting someone to attack him any time. Somehow Sasuke couldn't believe that this Naruto and the one he knew were the same person. A part of Sasuke told him that he was accustomed with seeing Naruto smiling like a goofy idiot all the time, hence why seeing a different behavior was strange. However, something in Sasuke was telling him that perhaps Naruto, the real Naruto, was standing in front of him looking at everyone surrounding him as if they were the enemy and he was the one surrounded. Sasuke watched as the mob of villagers did nothing but throw curses at Naruto, some even threatening to throw rocks at him just for being there. Sasuke looked at his mother and father, wondering if they shouldn't do anything about this, seeing as his father was chief of the police force. Strangely so, Sasuke could see a smile from his father. He could see that Fugaku was enjoying how Naruto was being treated. Sasuke's mother was as well. Suddenly a small fire appeared inside Sasuke's brain, representing a small and quite intriguing thought. If what they say was true and Naruto was the fox incarnated, then why was the dobe simply standing there not doing anything against this hatred? Why wasn't he fighting back somehow? Sasuke was surprised when Naruto suddenly looked straight at him and smiled warmly at him. Naruto then simply turned his back to the mob and started walking away. If he was the fox, no doubt he would not let this treatment slide and would have attacked them all. The image now faded and Sasuke now saw himself seating in front of a nice stream that was located near his house. The Uchiha remembered how he would come to this place every day. He felt depressed upon remembering the death of his family. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky in a smoothing orange hue that seemed to calm even the most troubled souls. From the corner of his eye he could see a kid observing him from up the small hill. Looking up, he could see Naruto looking at him fiercely, just like he did all the time. Their rivalry pretty much compelled them to look at each other like that. However, Naruto smiled at him all of a sudden, pretty much forcing the stoic Uchiha to smile as well. Besides the rivalry, there was something in that smile that Sasuke could feel. It was companionship. Sasuke had his entire family killed at the axe of one person, and Naruto had suffered the hatred from everyone in the village who had at least one loved one killed by the hands of the fox. To this day Sasuke couldn't stand those around him. They all smiled, they all enjoyed their happy-go-lucky lives, blissfully unaware of what it's like to have a shitty life. He now saw that another person his age suffered as well. Despite not acting on his hatred like Sasuke does, the Uchiha couldn't deny that the blonde had suffered immensely as well. Now that he thought about it, he always knew that Naruto was an orphan. He was alone in the world and pretty much the entire village was against him for something he wasn't even born when it happened. Sasuke was completely blinded by his hatred that nothing else mattered to the Sharingan user. Perhaps Naruto could be the one person he could give his trust. Once more Sasuke was in front of the stream, smiling just like he smiled when he saw his family together. The next day, when the Uchiha opened his eyes, he was alerted to the sound of metal hitting metal outside and opened his tent. He saw Naruto using his Kodachi against Jiraiya's kunai and saw how proficient the blonde was with the sword. Sasuke looked at the blonde for a while and smiled. If the dope had a sword as well, then Sasuke would have one as well. There was no sense in not competing on the same abilities. He knew from Jiraiya that the next town they would search for was Crater City. He remembered visiting it once with his mother, thus he knew that the town had a good load of ninja stores for him to find a sword that suits him. Sasuke was surprised when Jiraiya threw some shuriken at Naruto and saw the blonde performing the Kekai technique they were taught. Only that Naruto's barrier was now fully visible for the naked eye and it managed to stop the projectiles. The usual wave of jealousy of seeing the dope outdoing him wasn't there anymore, or at least wasn't making him angry. There were skills that Naruto possessed that Sasuke couldn't hope to match. Also, there were skills that Sasuke possessed that Naruto couldn't hope to match as well. Their rivalry was to see who managed to win in a full-out battle, with Sasuke using his tricks and Naruto using his own. After Sasuke told the two that nothing happened to him, they packed their bags and marched towards the next city. Once they arrived in Crater City, Jiraiya showed a photo of Tsunade to the Chunin and told them to look around. Meanwhile, he would be visiting one of his contacts. Naruto looked at the man, leaving a happy smile on his face, and imagined just what the pervert was craving for. He looked at Sasuke and could see something new in the boy. His shoulder was slightly more relaxed and the Uchiha's face was more at ease. They started walking around town, and surprisingly so, Sasuke ushered them to a few ninja stores, saying that he needed to purchase a few items. After entering a couple of ninja stores, the Uchiha left with a completely changed wardrobe. He replaced his black shorts for black umbu-style pants added by kunai holsters attached to his thigh. He also acquired some dark blue short-sleeved shirts and fishnet shirt to go beneath the blue shirts that happened to possess the Uchiha clan symbol on the right sleeve. Naruto found it strange that Sasuke looked at some swords in the stories but didn't purchase any of them. "Oi team." Naruto called Sasuke up front, making him stop and look back. Why the sudden change in wardrobe? What was wrong with the old one? The Uchiha just shrugged though. "Nothing wrong, dope, just figured that I need to change some things, that's all. Now I need to find a suitable sword for me as well." Something was definitely strange. "What was wrong with the ones you saw at the stores?" Sasuke snorted at the question and resumed walking. "Those were fine, but I need something else than just a sword. I remember my father telling that there were swords out there that were forged with chakra-conductive metal." Naruto found it surprising that it was the first time Sasuke ever said something about his family that didn't mean killing his brother or resurrecting his clan. The Chunin walked some more before Sasuke stopped in front of a store that lacked the proper advertising instruments. The store was plain. No products were displayed up front. For some reason, Sasuke felt that this was the store he was looking for. Once he got inside, the Chunin frowned since they couldn't see any product inside. They only saw a balcony in the middle of the store and a man dozing off inside the balcony. The man was relatively short to be called a man. He wore a white kimono and black sandals. He was snoring, showing his customers that the lack of audience in the store made him sleepy. As far as first appearances, this store wouldn't be approved. When Sasuke cleared his throat, the store owner opened one eye, slightly wondering who the hell would wake him up. He could see two individuals, one blonde and one with black hair, looking at him. He could see the Konoha insignia and immediately shot up from his bench. "What can I do for you two?" Naruto immediately frowned. In all the stores, the vendors had a huge smile on their faces so that the customers would buy their products. This guy asked as if the customers were bothering him. Sasuke merely smirked though. "I was looking for a sword and I was hoping to check your merchandise, sir." The store owner grunted. "What makes you think I even sell swords, young man? As you can see, there is nothing here." Now Sasuke was smiling from ear to ear at his question. It was the very same reason why he was interested in the shop. "There are lots of them hidden inside a genjutsu, I just didn't release it because it's not my store." Naruto was surprised immediately, and so was the owner. However, the owner was even more surprised when Sasuke's eyes morphed into the all-famous Sharingan. The store owner smirked at the boy in front of him and deactivated the genjutsu immediately. Rows after rows of fine weaponry appeared throughout the shop. Naruto was immediately drawn to the weaponry displayed in the shop, seeing one by one while marveling at its quality. Grabbing a katana, he was amazed at how light it was compared to its quality. Sasuke, though, simply stayed with the vendor. "I wish for you to forge me a new weapon, can you do it for me?" The vendor nodded but wanted to clarify something. "Of course I can, kid. From where I came from, Iron Country, sword forging is our specialty. However, before we go through with the specifics, how come you're interested in my shop instead of the others? Seeing as you casted a genjutsu in order to hide your products, I assumed that your products are unique, and that's the quality I seek in the weapon I choose. From what I could see from the sword displayed, they are made with a special type of iron chakra conductive material, am I right?" The vendor nodded with a smile on his face. Indeed, the reason why he hid his weapons was to search for special customers. And Uchiha was a special customer. Plus, he could feel something in the kid that made him wish to see more. Quickly grabbing a small notebook inside the balcony, he quickly observed his customer. "Okay, now that I'm satisfied, how about we make that sword for you? From what I know of the Uchiha shinobi, you favor speed and agility above strength, so a strong sword like a katana is out of the question. Small swords like a tanto and a wakizashi just wouldn't suffice, as well a ninjato perhaps." Sasuke nodded, since he was craving for one umbu used in Konoha. The owner continued writing the order. "Yes, ninjato will be then fast like a wakizashi and powerful like a katana. I will make it with chakra conductive iron, of course, for you to be able to channel chakra into it and thus make the sword stronger. Easy to make, by tonight it shall be done. Now, do you wish something extra on the sword, an engraving perhaps?" Sasuke said no, and the man gave him the price. While it wasn't expensive, it wasn't cheap either. However, the special iron was expensive, so Sasuke handed him the money and turned to the weapon store to wait. The vendor saw the kodachi in Naruto's back. "You young man, would you be interested in improving your sword's metal as well?" Naruto looked at his sword before thinking. "I can make it stronger and more durable for you." It took a bit more, but Naruto was convinced. "Sure thing, old man, here you go." When the vendor checked the sword, he noticed that the metal wasn't very damaged, which was surprising considering that from the look of the shinobi he constantly used it. After a few times analyzing the sword, he could feel chakra residue coming out of the sword. After swinging the blade a bit, he was shocked to see that the blade's chakra managed to slice a few sets of paper on top of his balcony without even touching it. So the boy used wind chakra to the sword. This was interesting. With his trademark iron, this piece of work will be so much better. He enjoyed his new customers and immediately went to the back of the shop to begin his work, but not before stating that the chunin could hang out in his backyard while he was busy working on the swords. Naruto and Sasuke appreciated it and went towards the place to train a bit. Sasuke kept performing some fire and lightning jutsu while Naruto was busy with his wind jutsu as well as the kekai technique. For hours later, the vendor called his customers inside the shop since the swords were ready. Both chunin took their respective weapon with great pride. Sasuke's ninjato was simple in design. The hilt was covered with soft black fabric, giving Sasuke more comfort when using it. The metal was shining, so was Naruto's kodachi. After appreciating the product and paying the total amount, both chunin left the store hoping to find either Jiraiya or Tsunade. Chapter 8. Playing hard to get. Hatake Kakashi had awakened this morning with a powerful headache given the amount of info he had covered together with the Sandaime Hokage so far. As he closed the door to his apartment, he thought about inventing something and not attending the meeting with the Sandaime. He cited that thought as he saw the number of shadows that now followed his every move. It was unnerving, actually. Before, no one cared where he went or how late he was to a meeting or two. Now, though, he had the entire Umbu army on his back following his every move. Kakashi wanted to pay a visit to the memorial stone and ask for Sensei's advice. However, in doing so, he would be late to the appointment. Said appointment that Hiruzen promised would be different than the others so far, filled with nothing but politics both inside and outside Konoha and Fire Country, economics and finances, controlling the incomes received by the missions and staff, managing, not to mention the shinobi force that he was forced to memorize every single shinobi enlisted. As he arrived inside the Hokage's building and moved towards his soon-to-be office, a shadow suddenly materialized in front of him and pointed to the right direction that happened to be a secret stairwell. The stairs were dark, and it didn't take 1 minute before Kakashi saw his predecessor in the middle of a room filled with scrolls and holding a candle. "Ah, welcome Kakashi-kun, I'm surprised to see you here so soon. I was imagining that you would pay a small visit before coming here." Kakashi looked at Hiruzen, silently questioning if the man before him was a mind reader. "I like to be alone when I do visit them, Hokage-sama. I'm still not used to be followed by a squad of Umbu at all times." He wanted to question the motive behind the fact that one Umbu member was now stationed inside his bedroom, but thought better. "You'll get used to it, and in time you'll appreciate the company. It gets lonely sometimes. Now, as I promised, this meeting will be definitely less boring than the others we held so far. I trust you know what this room is?" Hiruzen saw a nod from Kakashi, so he continued. "This happens to be same place your student had stolen the scroll of Kinjutsu and house of the majority of the ninjutsu used by Konoha shinobi since its foundation. As Hokage, you have complete access to all the contents in this room. Started by the Shodame, constantly used by the Nidame and myself. The Yondame actually used very little considering his love for seals. Now, as a ninjutsu master such as yourself, I believe you'll find great use in a lot of ninjutsu in here." Kakashi's eye widened as he looked at Hiruzen, who was smiling at him. "It's no secret that the Hokage is the strongest shinobi in the village, and for a good reason. Right now you are bearing on my student's level, but you need to be stronger now. Today we will take a look on these techniques and choose those that best suit your style. Not to sound ungrateful, Sandame-sama, but I've managed to copy a great load of techniques with the Sharingan." Hiruzen snorted at the insinuation. Kakashi earned his reputation as copycat ninja Kakashi, the man who copied 1,000 techniques. "Yes, I know. However, I can bet you can pick a dozen or 2 dozen techniques that are actually useful in the battlefield and useful to you as well. Now you favor earth, fire and lightning techniques in your mid-range to close-ranged fighting. Water techniques are used only against fire techniques, and you're filled with those. You can pick a few of the Nidame's techniques as well." Kakashi saw Hiruzen walking towards the aisles and smirked. Perhaps he could use the knowledge in this room and better protect the village and a certain blonde-haired Jinchuriki from his enemies. With Naruto. The noise of metal hitting metal echoed throughout the clearing as 2 Kinjutsu practitioners were displaying a show to their temporary teacher. Sannin Jiraiya simply observed with a surprised smile as he watched Naruto and Sasuke spar using their newly acquired swords. He was pleasantly surprised when he next saw the change in Sasuke's posture and how he got to smile more often when around Naruto. Even their spar was different. Before each time they fought, both were always aiming for simply winning the fight, not at all caring if the loser was hurt or damaged or even killed for that matter, judging by the way they fought. Now, even if both were fighting with deadly weapons, it was clear that neither was actually aiming for vital points. Sasuke had his Sharingan activated as he parried blow to blow with Naruto, who was still struggling to match Sasuke's pace. The Sharingan allowed Sasuke to be 1 step ahead of Naruto's every move, and the Uchiha was quickly adapting his body to the information given by the accursed Jujutsu. Naruto was also improving as he focused his observation skills and parrying Sasuke's quick and precise strikes as opposed to Naruto's slow but more powerful strikes. Jiraiya could very well see that these two managed to form a nice training bond. They were both smiling despite the obvious fatigue in their faces by going at it for close to an hour now. "Okay, you two, I guess that's enough for practice. We still have to find Tsunade. Now let's focus a bit on chakra control training, and then we'll march to the town. I believe we'll finally find the slippery woman Tanzaku guy." Naruto and Sasuke stopped what they were doing and nodded at the Sannin before going to a nearby stream and simply stand on top of the water while occasionally performing jutsu along the way. Sasuke would shoot fireballs at random directions while Naruto was throwing wind swords and wind gale palm. With this, they were reducing their chakra level while still maintaining the chakra flow on their feet to standing on top of the water stream. One hell of a chakra control exercise. After almost 30 minutes doing so, the 2 Chunin left the stream and took a seat on the ground to rest. Sasuke was clearly more tired than Naruto, but both really needed the rest. Jiraiya gave them both half an hour of rest before walking once more towards the town that contained information on Tsunade's whereabouts. While walking, Sasuke was busy taking care of his newly acquired sword while Naruto was busy looking at a specific seal given by Jiraiya for him to study. It was a simple storage seal, but if Naruto wanted to learn the craft of Kekkei techniques to its full potential, he must have equal knowledge in Fuinjutsu as well. The boy though was frowning his eyes trying to memorize the seal design before attempting to replicate it afterward. Fuinjutsu, like his perverted sensei explained, consisted of memorizing the different kanji that when placed together could offer a variety of uses. Aside from memorizing the seal design, Naruto learned that each seal required both his chakra and a special ink. While it wasn't true that all seals needed the creator's chakra to activate, the ones that Jiraiya wanted to teach Naruto were. As such, the perverted Sannin got him samples of both the storage scroll and the exploding tags. When Naruto got the hang of these two, Jiraiya would teach him the ones that when applied together form special barriers, thus reaching Naruto's future area of expertise. Surprisingly so, Sasuke wasn't much interested in the art of sealing by stating that it would take too long in the middle of the battle to make one. Indeed, it was, and Jiraiya wouldn't waste his time stating the obvious. There were some advanced shinobi like the Yondaime Hokage that could apply seals faster than the eye could blink, and the enemy wouldn't even be aware of it. The pervert wasn't going to waste time convincing Sasuke otherwise. The kid had enough material to work on with two elements and sword fighting to master. Naruto, however, needed as much aid as possible against the ones who were after him. They continued to walk for a few hours before the town of Tanzakugai was visible in the horizon. Looking at the sky, the pervert was relieved since it was almost getting dark and he wasn't thrilled in having to camp so close to the city. In Konoha. When Haruno Sakura started working with Team 8 because Shino was promoted to Chunin, she thought that like her old team it would take a long time to get comfortable with her teammates. Certainly being stuck between fierce rivals such as Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke wasn't child's play, but it was the only team she had so far. Her expectations were surprisingly ruined as she got to know her new teammates. Kiba was kind of like Naruto in his brash behavior, but he was a nice guy once she got to talk to him. Hinata was extremely shy, but it was nice to have a girl to talk to from time to time. Also, her new sensei Kurenai was a welcome surprise compared to her old sensei, who was now the Godaime Hokage. Kakashi's approach usually focused on teamwork exercises and chakra control. However, he usually tended to wait for his genin to come forward and ask questions on where to improve. Kurenai's was different. Her ability was genjutsu. As such, she focused on skills that when added together allowed someone to be a genjutsu user or at least able to overcome higher level illusions. Heavy chakra control exercises, chakra disruption techniques, and even advanced theory of the field of illusions that left Sakura baffled. Taijutsu was also focused, but Kurenai would parry the genin against each other for that. Since both Kiba and Hinata came from families that relied mainly on taijutsu, they were just as good as Sasuke was. The difference was that Sasuke wasn't interested in helping her, whereas both Hinata and Kiba had given her many tips. Ninjutsu was placed last in Kurenai's agenda of what to teach aside from the three taught at the academy. According to the Jounin, a shinobi must first master the basics forms of combat such as taijutsu and projectile throwing. If Sakura wanted, though, she could train ninjutsu as a side project. Sakura was enjoying her training just the way it was though, and Kurenai seemed to have taken a special interest in teaching her. She had a nice tracking team in Shino, Kiba, and Hinata. However, her teaching to them was restricted because of their families. Sakura not only didn't have this limitation but was also a quick learner. She enjoyed studying and had even learned a couple of C-rank genjutsu techniques that Kurenai created in almost record time. Kurenai also concurred with Kakashi that Sakura's chakra control was adequate for learning medical ninjutsu and was even researching on some more advanced methods to teach the girl. Right now the team was returning from a C-ranked mission that consisted of protecting a merchant while he was doing business close to Fire Country's capital. Considering the last C-ranked mission Sakura was in, this one was a breeze. Practically nothing happened aside from a stupid thug who thought he could steal from them. She imagined that had Naruto participated in this mission he would be complaining about not doing anything. Tanzakugai. As soon as the Konoha ninja crossed the gates of the city, the sky began to change its color and the moon was threatening to appear on the horizon. The lights were already illuminating the crowded streets and many vending machines sprawled all over the place, giving to its visitors the very intention behind everything around here. Tanzakugai was in all essence a tourist paradise and fire country. Filled with bars, pubs, casino dens, and even whorehouses, the place wasn't considered suitable for children. The only reason Naruto and Sasuke were an exception in this place was because of their headbands. However, the atmosphere was not what both boys were expecting. Naruto even had to close his nose as he sensed the strong smell of smoke and alcohol lingering in the air. Sasuke appeared not bothered, but he wasn't faring well either. Jiraiya noticed it immediately and smirked at the teenagers. Even if being ninja gave you clearance to these sorts of places the first time around is always the worst. Relax the both of you, I know a nice little hotel here that's far from all of this. Come. Naruto snorted at that though as he followed the no-good pervert. I bet you know a lot more about here than nice hotels to stay, stupid Erosenin. The last part was whispered, but Jiraiya heard and reacted exaggeratedly offended at the insinuation. Are you insinuating that I am nothing but a pervert? Jiraiya even made a pose to go along with it before Naruto exchanged eyes with Sasuke for a while. They both turned to the Sannin at the same time. Yes. You are. Sasuke was the one that spoke first, though Naruto started 1 second later. Wrong, the both of you. I am a super pervert. Both Chunin sighed since they have heard the same thing all over again. Jiraiya now smirked at them before pointing the hotel. Now that's the hotel I was talking about. Get in there and book 2 rooms, one for me and the other for you too. The Chunin took a look at the place and thought nothing of it. It was a beige 3-floor house and it appeared to be frequented by normal people on top of things. They turned to see the Sannin marching backwards with a lecherous smile on his face. He stopped though only to turn and address the 2 youngsters. If you two feel like wandering around and search for Tsunade, feel free, but be careful. This city is filled with people wanting nothing but trouble. Once he was gone, the Chunin booked the 2 rooms and marched outside for a quick look around. Minutes later, the boys were back at the city center where everyone was busy indulging their desires in open space with no shame whatsoever. This time though, the Chunin were more accustomed to the images and kept walking around. They were passing by a rather large restaurant window and briefly looked inside. It was Sasuke who looked further inside and saw their target seating on the closest table to the kitchen together with a brunette wearing a purple kimono. It appears that we found her, but the damn pervert is far away. He is her teammate. Naruto nodded. We should at least follow her and see where she's staying so that we can warn him. Sasuke thought about it and thought it was a good idea. Little did he know though that Tsunade was barely starting with the sake and wouldn't come out of the restaurant for at least another 3 hours. By the time she got out, Sasuke slightly opened his eyes from the building in front of the restaurant and kicked the already snoring Naruto. The Chunin followed them from afar and saw her entering the same hotel that they were using it. Now it was just a matter of waiting for the pervert to arrive and tell him the good news. With Tsunade. When the sun rose the next day and illuminated her room, Tsunade complained with a snarl while massaging her head to keep the hangover from increasing. It was times like these that she questioned why she had to drink so much. She asked that question every time she had a hangover, but she would be damned if this thought alone would stop her from drinking all over again. Looking to the bed next to her, she saw her companionship since she left Konoha almost 20 years ago. Shizune was Dan's niece. Thus every time she looked at her, Tsunade couldn't help but see that little girl pestering her and her lover Dan to take her to the playgrounds in Konoha. Tsunade's nostalgic smile soon dropped once she heard someone knocking on the door yelling room service. The woman immediately found it weird since the only one who could have ordered it was still asleep. Placing her green robe, Tsunade went to open the door before her eyes widened at who actually was. Hello there, princess. Jiraiya saluted his ex-teammate and only received a groan in response from the slug Sannin. What are you doing here, Jiraiya, and how the hell did you find me? The perverted Sannin smirked. I thought you had more faith in my skills as a spy, Master Haim. Now how about I pay you breakfast? I have a few things I wish to discuss with you. It wouldn't bode well for his pride that it wasn't him who found the woman but the Chunnin under his charge. He was busy getting wasted inside a brothel with the excuse that he was collecting information on her whereabouts. Tsunade looked at the man for a while before grunting angrily and closing the door. Jiraiya knew she wouldn't go anywhere and went inside only to change her clothes. It didn't take 5 minutes for Tsunade to open the door once more and follow the smirking Jiraiya towards the hotel restaurant. Once they arrived, Tsunade saw Jiraiya moving to a table that was occupied by 2 relatively young shinobi from Konoha. Grunting, she followed and took a seating next to Sasuke, who was mostly focused on eating his breakfast despite some level of interest in this woman seeing as she is a Sannin. "Okay, Jiraiya, spill it. What is it that you wish to speak to me about?" Jiraiya was busy ordering something for himself before he turned away from the waiter and addressed his teammate. "Oh, okay, I'll get right to the point. A few weeks ago Konoha was invaded by both Otogakure and Tsunagakure." Tsunade widened her eyes at that while listening. Orochimaru was behind the entire thing and he managed to create a mess for Sensei to clean up. Fortunately, Sarutobi-sensei managed to hold our dear teammate long enough for me to give aid. He ended up escaping though. Jiraiya waited a bit for the information to sink in while eating his breakfast with his usual smile on his face. He saw her eyes returning to the present world. "Okay, Konoha was invaded but was victorious. I'm pretty sure you didn't come here just to tell me that. What is it?" Jiraiya nodded since he was waiting for the question. "We did win the war, but a lot of our shinobi force is now in critical condition. The village is now lacking in the medic need department. As such, Sensei issued an order for you to return and run the village's medic department." As expected, the woman went from aloof to angry in one go before a great level of killing intent was released, making the Chunnin tremble slightly. If there was any doubt about Tsunade's skills as a Sannin before now, they were convinced. Both Sasuke and Naruto thanked the heavens that said intent wasn't directed at them but Jiraiya. He though just kept his gaze at Tsunade, not fazed by it. "How dare you? How dare Sensei, thinking he could just order me back? I'll never return to that place, Jiraiya." Memories flashed inside her mind of her 2 loved ones perishing because of the war. "Please, Tsunade, please reconsider. Sensei wouldn't have called you back if he didn't think it was necessary." It was irrelevant apparently. The woman was always stubborn like that. "Actually, drop it, Jiraiya, I won't return to that village. I just lost too much." Jiraiya immediately tensed, hoping that Tsunade hadn't heard the distinguished sound of a snort coming from another person next to him. He sighed though, seeing Tsunade's eyes narrow even further before turning to the one who dared judge her actions. She turned to the black-haired kid and noticed in his eyes the lack of respect that someone of Tsunade's status was used to receiving. She knew though that it wasn't him who snorted at her comment but the fierce blue eyes that kept on staring her incredulously next to the black-haired kid. "You've got something to say to me, you brat?" By the look in her eyes, anyone would think twice before speaking their mind, but not the blonde Chunnin who was matching her eye to eye. "I'm just surprised to see a member of the Sannin behaving like a coward." Jiraiya's blood ran cold at the speech and he saw the look of pure fury in Tsunade's face, but Naruto wasn't finished. "You just heard from Orochimaru that there are lots of injured people from the invasion. Injured people whose life hangs on the balance because the only one who could treat them and save their lives is busy running away from whatever fate happened in her life. I know people in Konoha who have suffered as well but are still there fighting for what he or she believes. I, for instance, was born hated by the entire village and ostracized by everyone because of something I couldn't control." Naruto looked at Sasuke for a while, earning a nod from the Uchiha. Sasuke here had his entire family murdered by his own brother. Our sensei Kakashi had lost everyone in his life and is now nominated Godame Hokage. Please tell me, lady, why do you think your pain is any worse or any different from the rest of the world? The fact that Naruto was trembling made all the difference in his speech, and for the first time no one berated him for speaking out of line. Tsunade though was furious at this brat for what he said. A rational side of Tsunade couldn't help but agree with him. However, she has spent too many time running away to be swayed so easily. He was nothing but a kid, but the fire she saw in his eyes gave merit to his every word. The kid wouldn't back down, and if what he said was true, then he had every right to question her pain. The boy who looked incredibly like the Yondaime Hokage was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and the kid next to him was the last loyal member of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Sasuke. Both were now looking at her with similarly fierce resolve. Jiraiya slightly smirked at Naruto's words but saw that he needed to run some damage control. Tsunade. Drop it, Jiraiya. She then turned to the blonde Chunin. You speak big words for a little kid. I want to see you back your words outside. If you even land a hit on me, I admit the truth behind your words and return. If not, then you will leave me alone. The Uchiha kid could even join in to help your odds. Naruto and Sasuke looked at one another and smirked at the challenge presented by them. Jiraiya couldn't help but sigh for perhaps the 1000th time already. He didn't know if he should allow such a fight to happen. Tsunade could kill them after what Naruto had said to her. Come to think of it though, with both Sasuke and Naruto, the odds aren't totally against them. There was something else though, he mused. There was this look on her face that something changed after Naruto's speech. As they walked outside, Jiraiya saw Shizune appearing in front of Tsunade and attempting to convince her against this. Right now it wasn't a match of whose side would be victorious. It was a battle to see which one was the strongest. Either Naruto's, based on dealing with the unbearable pain and move forward no matter the cost, or Tsunade's, whose decision was to let pain take over her actions. There is a saying that a lie told repeatedly ends up becoming the truth. The female member of the Sannin had wasted 20 years of her life blaming the hidden village of the Leaves for the death of her lover Dan and her little brother Nawaki. Thus anyone who came to her and said it differently was considered a liar in Tsunade's book. As soon as they were outside, Jiraiya saw that the streets were deserted save from the battle contestants and himself and Shizune. Naruto and Sasuke were close to each other as they looked at their opponent. Team, do you know anything about her? Sasuke looked at Naruto showing indignation. Dope, didn't you pay attention to the academy when we covered the Sannin? Senju Tsunade was considered famous for her prowess in medical ninjutsu. However, she was also famous for her mastery in the taijutsu department, rumoring to pack a punch using chakra to increase her strength. If anything, I'd avoid getting too close for the meantime. Naruto nodded and smirked at the information. Meanwhile, the all too cocky Sannin was busy cracking her knuckles waiting for the brats to make the first move. She saw Sasuke activating the Sharingan while Naruto formed a strange-looking hand seal before 5 copies of himself charged at the woman. The copies charged at the same time, going from multiple directions, earning a snort from the Sannin as she dealt with the bunshins using only her finger. Sasuke remained behind while the original smirked again and threw a couple of shuriken laced with wind chakra at her, surprising Shizune and Jiraiya. The Chunin were really going for the kill. Tsunade dodged the shuriken expertly and ran to meet Naruto halfway. She moved in to punch him, but the blonde managed to evade the strike and get out of the way as Sasuke unleashed a gigantic fireball at her the moment that Naruto left from his place. Tsunade saw the fire technique approaching and focused chakra on her fists to stop it before reaching her. The Sannin was surprised when she saw Naruto appearing behind the fireball's path, going through hand seals. Futon Rapashu, wind release wind gale palm technique. The extra burst of wind increased the fireball's power, forcing Tsunade to review her strategy and evade it. The fireball went on a clear path to the forest that surrounded the inn. Tsunade saw Naruto and charged at him once more. Sasuke saw with his eyes and threw 2 kunai at her intended direction, once more forcing Tsunade to move out of the way. Sasuke took the opportunity and went through hand seals as he saw behind Tsunade what Naruto was up to. Gathering enough air inside his lungs, Sasuke released everything in one go, exhaling a powerful stream of fire towards Tsunade. Katon Dianden, fire release grand fireball technique. Tsunade evaded once more, jumping backwards a bit, but not enough for the plan to work. He went through hand seals once more, taking the window of opportunity. If she moved from her position, then both Sasuke and Naruto would need to change strategies. While doing the hand signs, both his hands were busy gathering lightning energy. This attack was considered more agile than his usual fireballs, which would force her to move backwards quickly. Raiten Rakurai, lightning release thunderbolt technique. Once more evading the technique, Tsunade jumped backwards and was suddenly trapped by 4 copies of the blonde brat, strangely forming a square formation around her. Jiraiya saw it and smirked at the ingenuity of Naruto's improvisation. Said technique was better used in solid places such as walls or even trees, forming a barrier array. Tsunade went through the same conclusion just as the Bunshin lifted their vest to show 4 identical seals before it ignited. Kekai Hojin, barrier method battle array. The real one appeared next to his partner with a smirk on his face. As soon as the smoke was cleared, Tsunade's clothes were terribly burned, but the woman appeared relatively unscathed. She was furious now as she observed the 2 brats looking at her from a distance. She had to admit that these 2 have a nice teamwork. However, it didn't mean that she wouldn't break a bone or 2. These 2 were getting on her nerves. She charged at them once more but stopped once Jiraiya appeared in front of her, stopping the fight. Clearly he met opposition from both sides. What the hell, Jiraiya, move out of the way. I have a couple of brats to deal with. Jiraiya looked at his teammate with a serious expression on his face. You said it yourself that if they hit you once you'd go back with us. You had to use your arms to shield your face from the explosion. Tsunade snarled at the man and the brats, who right now were smirking at her, thinking the obvious conclusion that she would admit defeat and return to the very place who scared her life for eternity. Jiraiya was waiting for her response. Whatever. I ain't coming back, and that's final. You can't force me to do anything. Her answer surprised Shizune, Naruto and Sasuke, but not Jiraiya. He was beginning to understand Naruto's words now that he looked more closely. Tsunade ignored Naruto's shouts, calling her coward and untrustworthy as she walked away from the location. Shizune hesitated a bit before following her master, not before apologizing to everyone for her master's actions. Sasuke didn't care much about it and snorted at the woman's cowardice action. Naruto stopped shouting obscenities to the woman as soon as her image disappeared. Jiraiya just remained looking at the direction that his teammate left before turning to the Chunin behind him. You 2 are to wait for me back at the hotel. I'll go and talk to her once more. Feel free to do some training if you wish. He turned once more and casually walked, leaving Sasuke and Naruto alone. The blonde Chunin clearly was frustrated at the turn of events, even if he and Sasuke totally kicked ass in his right mind. He saw Sasuke turn and walk back to the hotel and quickly followed. If they were to train, and Naruto was pretty sure they would, it couldn't be done right in the middle of the street. He followed Sasuke inside while wondering about Tsunade and that perhaps it was a mistake on Sarutobi Gigi's part to ever count on her for anything, no matter what happened in her life. He also wondered about the similarities between another member of the Sannin, the one who happened to turn on Konoha and openly attack or even kill shinobi that used to be his comrades. Sasuke went to the inn's backyard and removed his sword from the scabbard before facing Naruto. The blonde smirked at the challenge and did the same, already forgetting about the coward Sannin. With Jiraiya, he knew that Tsunade wasn't going anywhere since her stuff was at the same hotel that he was staying. As he peacefully walked throughout the village, he took special interest in the bars and pubs. He was pretty sure that Tsunade would be carving for a good bottle of sake right now, and he wasn't disappointed to find her inside one flimsy old and empty pub on the verge of opening her second bottle. Shizune could be seen in front of her looking at her master, pitying the person to whom every kunoichi wanted to be like when they grew up. She looked to the side, surprised to see Jiraiya there once more. His look was strangely similar to her own as he stared at the still drinking Tsunade with nothing but pity for the woman. The cloud of darkness and depression that surrounded her was practically visible now. What do you want, you pervert? I've already told you I ain't coming back. Her eyes were dulled and didn't uphold 1% of the usual light that the man was used to seeing. I understand, Tsunade, and I won't bother convincing you anymore. Although the woman was asking to be left alone, something in Jiraiya's tone caused her grief, but he wasn't finished. It is clear to me now that you're so far gone inside your mind and suffering that you don't know how to get out of it anymore. When Sensei asked me to convince you to return, he was counting on you to take over the medical unit and provide help to those in need. However, as of now, you can't even help yourself out of the depression. Tsunade just looked at nothing as she kept pouring sake on her glass. Shizune wanted to defend her master but couldn't find the words to do so. Are you done, Jiraiya? The male Sannin snarled at the question. No, I'm not done. Damn it, Tsunade. I don't even recognize you anymore. It's been 20 years. Do you actually believe Dan or Nawaki would want to see you like this? I knew them to be strong, filled with courage to do what was right. Even if you don't wish to return to the village, at least don't turn your back on those that are going to die unless they receive proper treatment. Once more Tsunade said nothing, and this time Jiraiya didn't consider extending his presence anymore. A part of him wanted to continue because it was clear that his words were affecting her despite the look of apathy in her face. However, the other part figured that talking now wouldn't do anything, and it turned out that Jiraiya favored the last. You figure out what you want to do with your life, Tsunade. I'll be leaving tomorrow morning towards Konoha. If you at least value others' lives, you'll be at the reception waiting. If not, then Sensei will be severely disappointed in you when I return without your company. Have a good day. Jiraiya got up from the table and left the bar, leaving only two people, a pig and the bartender who was taking a light nap. Shizune wished for the man to stay and try more, but he had left without even looking back. Looking at her master once more, she silently wished that Tsunade chose to return to the village tomorrow morning. She feared that this window of opportunity would close with Jiraiya. At the inn. Once Jiraiya arrived at the inn, he wasn't surprised to hear metal clashing against metal coming from the inn's backyard. As soon as he arrived, though, he saw an alarming scene of Sasuke firing a fireball at Naruto, who was focusing every bit of his chakra in maintaining the barrier taught by the pervert. Apparently Naruto went against his teaching and used the technique against an elemental offensive technique. Even if the kid had an inhuman amount of chakra, doesn't mean it wouldn't end eventually. Both the cursed seal and the fox's chakra were his backup plan in case his actual skills failed. Eventually, the barrier was able to withstand the power of the fireball, but Naruto was extremely disoriented afterward, making himself an easy target for the enemy. What have I told you about using that against elemental attacks, Gaki? Jiraiya's voice alerted Naruto as he got up from the ground. Yeah, you did. I was just seeing it for myself. If for instance someone is faster than me and I have to use something quickly, the barrier is all I have. I can't find something to replace myself with all the time, you know. Jiraiya was amused at the indignant expression on his face. Since there was still some baby fat left to burn, the Chunin still looked like a child pouting about being denied a present. Jiraiya, though, could see merit in the complaint. He knew of something he could teach to the kid that would take perhaps a considerable amount of chakra, but it would be less than maintaining the barrier technique, plus it would take less effort to perform. You have a point there, Gaki. Perhaps it would be prudent to teach you a simple Doton technique meant for defensive. Naruto started salivating instantly, and even Sasuke perked up from where he was. Sasuke, use your fireball against me. Naruto, you pay attention to my every move. The Uchiha nodded and went through hand seals before exhaling a considerably sized fireball. Jiraiya went through hand seals and inflated his chest a bit. Jiraiya then expelled mud from his mouth towards the ground in front of him. As the fireball approached Jiraiya's position, the pool of mud suddenly behaved like a geyser from the ground and solidified in front of Jiraiya. Doton Doryuhiki, Earth Release Mud Wall Technique. The fireball collided with the wall of mud and the earth trembled because of the impact. However, after the smoke had settled, the wall was still standing. Jiraiya was behind it as he turned to Naruto and saw the look on his face. Jiraiya only smirked, having already forgotten about how stubborn Tsunade was acting. He was amused since the boy clearly wanted to learn that. However, for him to get as proficient as Jiraiya in performing the technique, he would need to learn how to mold earth chakra. Jiraiya had affinities for both fire and earth, hence how he was able to do the technique with no trouble at all. Naruto, however, had affinity for wind techniques. Jiraiya knew the kid would be able to use it, but he would have to work real hard to get it. I can see from your face that you're quite eager to learn this technique. However, I'll tell you now that it will take a while before you become proficient. Naruto smirked at that. Just you wait, Ero Sennin. I'll master every technique you're willing to teach me. Both Sasuke and Jiraiya smirked at the proclamation, both believing it to be nothing more than the truth. The pervert began to instruct Naruto in how to manipulate Earth-level chakra, already knowing that the kid wouldn't get it right away. He even picked an empty scroll and wrote the theory for the boy to practice on his own from now on. As soon as he entered the inn towards his room, he heard the distinguishing noise of shadow clones and smirked. Only Naruto could manage to train using shadow clones and not get killed because of it. He only laughed as he heard the bickering that soon followed. "Oi dope, try warning me the next time you do something like this, damn it. My head is killing me." Naruto snorted at Sasuke's complaint. "Teen, you're just jealous of my super awesome training exercise. I'll beat your sorry ass in no time, just you wait." This time Sasuke snorted as he was busy massaging his temples. "In your dreams, dope. You can't even land a hit on me. Like you're any different." Those two bickering at each other was simply priceless. Next day. When Jiraiya and the Chunin were sent and ready to return to the hidden village in the leaves, there was no one waiting for them at the inn reception. Jiraiya wasn't completely surprised by it, though he half wished that she would at least return to tend the wounded from the invasion. The message that he would be delivering to both his sensei and the future Hokage was quite clear. Senju Tsunade, granddaughter of the Shodame Hokage, last living member of the Senju clan and one of the Sannin, was now far out of Konoha's grasp. Neither Naruto nor Sasuke cared much about her not showing. It only confirmed their first notion of her character. As they stepped out of the hotel, the Konoha party was surprised to see both Tsunade and Shizune carrying an overly sized bag on her back and a pig with her arms. She was smiling from ear to ear at the prospect of finally going back to the village. Tsunade saw the smile on Jiraiya's face and frowned. "This doesn't mean anything. As soon as I heal the last injured, I'm out of there." The smile never left his face though. His mission was successful in the end. "We'll take what we can get, I guess. If we hurry, we may arrive in Konoha by the end of the day." The party, now joined by Tsunade and Shizune, vanished like a blur towards Konoha. Chapter 9. Stubbornness. No sooner had the group left Tanzakugai and Tsunade was already considering making a run for it, consequences be damned. First reason was her teammate and fellow Sannin Jiraiya. The man would constantly be on her nerves, making perverted comments that set her on edge the entire time. A part of her knew that the man was doing everything with the sole purpose of infuriating her, but the other part just wanted to treat Jiraiya like a punching bag. In her right mind though, constantly beating him wouldn't work at all, and she felt at ease in doing so. The other source of her headache was the two little Chunin that took advantage of their relatively slow pace towards Konoha to train against one another. Seriously, Tsunade assumed that both would be on the ground panting from exhaustion already. Shizune looked at her master's face and couldn't help but smirk nervously while watching the kids fighting in Kenjutsu. Tsunade was known for having the shortest temper in the world. Naruto and Sasuke in the meantime were busy parrying their swords against each other, either not knowing or caring very little that Tsunade was annoyed by their action. The two were going at it for quite some time now before Sasuke created some distance and shot a considerably sized fireball at Naruto. The blonde Chunin narrowed his eyes in determination and began the hand seals for his first earth release ninjutsu. He managed to spill some mud on the ground, but it wasn't nearly enough to stop the fireball. The small wall was powerless to even deter the fireball's path, forcing Naruto to use his agility and evade the fireball. After getting away from the attack's path, Naruto threw a couple of shuriken at Sasuke, who moved his sword to deflect the projectiles. Naruto waited until the last moment before he used the wind gale palm technique, increasing the shuriken's velocity. Sasuke quickly replaced himself with a log that was near Naruto and attacked with his sword. Naruto's training with Anko kicked in and he placed his sword to parry Sasuke's blow before summoning a Kage Bunshin that landed a fierce punch on Sasuke's face. Still in midair, Sasuke went through some hand seals before his hands sparkled in electricity. Naruto was aware of the technique and already performed his own set of hand seals when Sasuke used his technique right after landing on the ground. Raiten Rakurai, Lightning Release Thunderbolt Technique, Futon de Tapa, Wind Release Great Breakthrough Technique. Sasuke realized the futility in keeping the technique after seeing it destroyed by Naruto's Wind Blast. With the use of his Sharingan, he saw Naruto's technique coming his way and evaded it quickly. He saw Naruto coming at him with the sword with great speed and used his to block it. The two stopped while staring at each other with a proud smirk on their faces despite their fatigue. Tsunade snorted at the two while Shizune was looking quite impressed at the display. Jiraiya looked at it with a smile on his face as he approached his Chunin charges. These two wouldn't stop fighting unless he did something. He was beginning to wonder if Sasuke was a Jinchuriki as well, since he was able to keep up with Naruto's stamina. Great improvement, you two, although Naruto, please refrain from using a technique you can't fully use. The earth wall will be easier to you once you learn earth manipulation chakra. In the meantime, keep practicing it. The Jinchuriki nodded before both Chunin placed their swords inside the respective scabbard. The group would reach the gates of Konoha in less than an hour, so Naruto would have some time to train in Doton techniques. Plus, he meant to see how he could improve his wind manipulation, since he remembered that he had only learned the first step according to Anko-sensei. Turning to Jiraiya as they walked, Naruto figured that he could ask the pervert for pointers. Hey Ero-Senin.do, you happen to know about the next step to wind manipulation? I've already sliced a leaf in two. Jiraiya was slightly peeved that Tsunade was holding her stomach while laughing at him. He ignored her though while addressing the Chunin. The next step is quite complex, though I believe you can manage it in time. Put simply, in order to fully master wind manipulation, you must be able to slice a waterfall using only your chakra. Jiraiya knew that by doing that he would get his vengeance because of his new nickname. Naruto was carefree while walking next to the pervert Sannin. He simply nodded at the answer, not at all getting the prospect of what was required of him. It took 3 seconds for his face to morph from carefree to confused and from confused to surprised. He turned his head in indignation at Jiraiya, hoping that the man was simply joking with the kid. You must be joking, right? How the hell am I supposed to slice an entire waterfall? Jiraiya smirked at the kid. If it was easy, kid, anyone would have done it. Wind users are rare because the element is hard to master even to the wind-natured like you. It's not like you are on a deadline anyway. The first step is enough for the techniques. The difference is that you can add more power to the techniques by learning the second step. Naruto by now was visibly considering the path ahead of him when Jiraiya placed a comforting head on his shoulder. With your Kage Bunshin training though, you are able to learn much faster. Once we arrive, I'll pick up some earth ninjutsu material for you while you train. I bet you'll manage to master everything you set your mind to quite fast. Naruto smirked at that, already picturing the skills he need to master, the Rasengan being one of them. Sasuke snorted, having heard the conversation. Using bunshins all the time is considered cheating, dope. Not everyone has the same chakra pool as you. Naruto's face was morphed into fake indignation as he faced Sasuke. Team, like your Sharingan is any different. All you have to do is look at anything with those damn eyes of yours. Sasuke snorted but then smiled. Pissing each other was one of their most treasured hobbies. Konohagakure. Another 2 hours later and the group had finally crossed the gates of Konoha. Tsunade was unusually quiet as she processed the images of this accursed place. It hadn't changed much since she left with her charge Shizune after the 2 events that changed her life for good. No sooner had they stepped foot inside the village, the group had Konoha's full attention. Being the granddaughter of the man who founded the village, Senju, Tsunade was considered nobility in Konohagakure. And seeing her next to Uchiha Sasuke, the two were what was left of the 2 founding clans. The rest of the group, namely Shizune, Jiraiya and Naruto, felt comfortable in just walking behind the 2 noble individuals. Jiraiya was more focused in how his teammate was faring after being gone for so long. The group headed immediately to the Hokage's office. After opening the door, the group had met with Sandaime Hokage and the newly appointed Godaime Hokage Hatake Kakashi. Tsunade, despite knowing that Kakashi was nominated for the position, found it strange that her sensei wasn't behind his desk anymore and also not wearing the usual Kage outfit. It's good to see you once more, Tsunade-chan. It's good to know that you have agreed in returning home. Sandaime smirked fondly at his only female student, earning a snort from Tsunade. Yeah, well, I'm only here to heal the wounded sensei. After this I'll be gone again. Sandaime looked at the woman while checking on Jiraiya briefly for some kind of explanation. The pervert merely shrugged his shoulders and released a slight sigh in dismay. Whatever happened out there, Hiruzen guessed that it took all of Jiraiya's negotiating skills to merely convince her to heal the wounded from the invasion. At the very least, the woman's expertise would greatly save the majority of those wounded and help them return to active duty. Hiruzen hoped that in due time Tsunade decided to stay, although a part of him wondered if it was time to revoke her free traveling rights. Kakashi was quiet throughout the entire ordeal, not really having an opinion to contribute to the discussion. Your skills will be greatly appreciated, Tsunade. The hospital staff is already waiting for your arrival, so you can drop there any time. Tsunade grunted and left the room, followed by Shizune, who took her time apologizing for her master's behavior. Once the two women left, Hiruzen turned to Jiraiya for the report. It didn't take long for Jiraiya to report everything. Kakashi and Hiruzen were a bit saddened by the fact that Tsunade refused to come back even after Naruto and Sasuke defeated her as per her own requirements. Kakashi, though, was proud of their students after hearing that the two used a great level of teamwork and managed to hit a Sannin level shinobi. Kakashi gave them congratulations for the job well done before dismissing the two Chunin. So Jiraiya, I trust that my students didn't give you too much trouble? Kakashi asked, to which Jiraiya only nodded in dismissal. They can be a handful, sure. But when it comes to training, their energy is 100% applied to it, so I had some time off after giving them some material to work with. First of all, Sasuke managed to learn a few fire and lightning jutsu in no time and even adapted nicely into a kenjutsu fight. Naruto had greatly improved as well in his wind techniques. His ability in close combat is unparalleled, and despite Sasuke having the Sharingan, he couldn't hit Naruto once when they sparred. I also started to train Naruto in Kekai techniques, and the kid has already incorporated some techniques to his arsenal. Perhaps it's high time he started on Fuin Jutsu as well. He is also learning how to use Doton Ninjutsu, and I've started teaching him the Rasengan. Hiruzen listened to everything with a smile on his face, as he knew that those two certainly benefited under a Sannin's tutelage. There is something else I must report as well concerning Sasuke's cursed seal. This time both Hiruzen and Kakashi looked at the man, wondering what happened. What happened? Hiruzen had his stern gaze on his student, wondering why he was only telling this now. Jiraiya knew that his sensei wouldn't approve of what happened, but he felt inclined to explain anyway. It all started just a few days after we left the village. The two were busy sparring against each other when Sasuke asked Naruto about the difference in color between his cursed seal and the one Naruto has. Hiruzen immediately frowned at this, but he let Jiraiya continue. The kid then told Sasuke about the Kyuubi and how it used its chakra to purify the cursed seal, thus eliminating Orochimaru's influence over it. Sasuke ended up asking if the fox could do the same thing for his cursed seal, and Naruto said it could, but not after warning Sasuke that the fox's chakra was corrosive to all but himself. Sasuke was aware of the danger but went along with it. I don't need to tell you how irresponsible you were for even letting this happen, Jiraiya. Naruto was right, Sasuke could have been killed because of this stunt. Jiraiya nodded at his sensei's statement. I know, sensei, it was a large gamble. However, it worked, and with this Orochimaru no longer has any sort of influence over the seal. Now that we know it works, we now know a key element in how to remove Orochimaru's will from the seal. You know, sensei, that it was the only reason I couldn't remove the one that Mitarashi Anko has. She would certainly die otherwise. The fox's demonic chakra is a viable key to remove the evil properties of the seal without taking away its advantages. Hiruzen looked at Jiraiya for a while in deep thinking. Kakashi for his turn decided to participate in this conversation. So the procedure worked then? Sasuke's seal is now red? Jiraiya nodded before Kakashi turned to Hiruzen. There is a possibility that we could create a new offense team, Sandaime-sama. Hiruzen turned to Kakashi, ushering him to continue. If we infuse demonic chakra into Anko's seal, she could be the leader of a heavily offensive squad together with Naruto and Sasuke. With these three, we only have to find another member for a four-man squad, one that can act as the group's support. Jiraiya clearly approved the idea, but Hiruzen was reluctant about allowing Naruto to infuse demonic chakra into another person. As far as he knew, Sasuke could have been killed. Jiraiya reported another interesting fact that he was thinking about it on the way back. Sasuke and Anko share a catalyst to the procedure, that is their hatred over the ones who wronged them, Itachi and Orochimaru respectfully. It is something to think about, I guess. Hiruzen nodded at that. From what we know of the cursed seal, only 1 in 10 infected manages to activate it, so the person must be highly tolerable to pain. It sounds plausible. The 3 high-level shinobi stood until late inside the Hokage's office debating on this new heavy assault team, even going as far as to open a bottle of sake in the meantime. With Naruto. When the sun rose the next day, Naruto got up early and quickly got dressed. He was given a week of recuperation since his first Chunin mission started right after the end of the invasion. He planned to take full advantage of his time off to train the entire time. Quickly locking the door to his apartment, he made a quick stop at Ichiraku's for a nice meal before heading straight to the library, where he would search for some material involving both wind and earth manipulation exercises. As soon as he arrived, the librarian gave him the look, but Naruto could practically curse the woman's past generations and still get inside. He was a Chunin now and thus had full access to the majority of books and scrolls in this place, with the exception of A and S-ranked material, which was privy to Jounin and above. Once inside, Naruto didn't waste time and summoned Tenkage Bunshin to search the facility for what he needed. The place was deserted, which suited Naruto just fine. He wasn't looking forward to hearing people telling him to keep it quiet. 15 minutes afterward, the clones managed to gather enough material for him to go by for the duration of the week. Quickly checking it out once more, ignoring the librarian's attitude, Naruto left the place towards a more secluded training ground. Normally he would be in his team's training ground, but he needed to go somewhere else where he knew beyond a doubt that he wouldn't be interrupted. The blonde struggled for a bit, trying to think of a place to go to, when he remembered the place he trained with Anko-sensei for the Chunin exams. No one would go there because of what the forest represented. Inside the Forest of Death. After jumping the fence that kept others from coming inside, Naruto immediately jumped towards the nearest tree and traveled towards the location where he last trained. He was just about to land on top of a specific tree when his instinct ordered him to avoid it. Seconds after passing the tree, he spotted 3 kunai embedded at the place he would be in. He landed on the ground and cursed when a barrage of shuriken came flying straight at him. Taking his sword and channeling wind chakra, Naruto managed to slice all the projectiles before standing his ground for the next attack. He wasn't disappointed when a brown snake erupted from the ground inches in front of him and went for his jugular. The snake bit Naruto in the neck while Anko was observing with a smile at the kid. She smirked even more when her old charge was replaced with a log and Naruto was standing behind her with his sword posed to strike. "You've gotten sharper and faster, Gaki, not a single move wasted," Anko said before turning to meet the newly promoted Chunin. "Mind explaining to me what you're doing here? I needed a place to train to the fullest without interruption. I figured that no one would think to come here. Obviously I was mistaken." Anko just caressed his hair in response with a smile on her face. "I already told you this is my garden, Gaki. When I'm not on a mission or eating my precious dango, I'm here." Naruto nodded at that. "So training, huh? I guess I don't have much to do, so I'll join. What are you going to train in?" The list of items was short, but the items themselves demanded a great deal of time for even a jounin to master. The woman was surprised that the kid would venture in earth ninjutsu, but she supposed it was valid to have it for defense, being actually blocking an attack or even evasion. When she heard the word Rasengan, Anko just stared at the kid for a while and smirked. Just when she thought that the kid couldn't surprise her anymore, he goes and do something like this. "You think I can't do it all in a week?" Anko knew the Gaki to be motivated when it comes to proving people wrong. "I don't think, I know it actually. You can't do it. However, that doesn't mean you cannot come close with your clones. I can even teach a good Doton technique that you will like, since it's similar to your shadow clones. It's the mud clone technique." Naruto nodded immediately and summoned close to 500 bunshins, filling the forest with blonde hair and blue-eyed replicas. Since the plan was in Naruto's mind before he summoned the clones, the others didn't need to hear their orders. 100 of them would be picking up leaves on the ground and slicing them using wind chakra. The second 100 would practice chakra control through both tree and water walking. The third 100 would focus on the Rasengan, and the last 200 would focus on earth manipulation. Anko just stared at the army and whistled. The kid wasn't kidding here. So what are you going to do while they do all the labor? She saw him positioning his sword in front of her with a smile on his face and smirked. You're on Gaki. No sooner had she taken 2 kunai in each hand, Naruto was already close to her and about to strike. With Sasuke. Rather than training his ass off like his partner in crime Uchiha, Sasuke didn't have the same stamina or even a fox inside his gut to ease the strain on his muscles. He had 1 week of rest, so he would take today off and simply be at ease. When he got out of his apartment, Sasuke had a small lunch and then went to a ninja weapons shop. The metal of his sword suffered a bit fighting against Naruto's wind-induced sword. He needed to reinforce the metal before he had to leave for another mission. Once he arrived in the merchant district, Sasuke decided to keep in the middle of the street, or else the store owners would keep pestering him to purchase items in their stores. The attention he was getting from these people was annoying. After a few minutes of walk, Sasuke looked to his left and realized that was a store there he had never been into. Deciding to test it out, he went inside and was surprised at what he saw. He felt just like the store in which he purchased his sword while on the trip to find the Sannin Tsunade. The store was filled with all sorts of material, going from ninja clothes to projectiles and varied weapons. Sasuke was indeed impressed and figured that it would be nice to focus on this one for his supplies. Hello there, Sasuke. The Uchiha looked at the counter and was surprised when he saw a familiar face. Ten hi. Sasuke mentally berated himself since his voice came out somewhat different than usual. What are you doing here behind the counter? Do you work here? Ten nodded with a smile. Sort of. My family owns this store. I try to help them out when I can. So I hear you were promoted to Chunin, congratulations. Sasuke nodded in appreciation before walking towards the counter. Before he stopped though, Tenten's eyes were glued to the sword strapped on his back. I didn't know you had a sword, Sasuke. You didn't use one when the invasion started. Can I see it? Sasuke blinked at the increasing tone in her voice. Ten realized that too and smiled at the Uchiha. Sorry, it's just that I love all sorts of weapons. It's a dream of mine to become a kunoichi that specializes in all forms of weapons combat. Where did you acquire it? Sasuke showed her the blade. I purchased it in Crater City on my last mission. It's made from a special metal that allow me to channel chakra. Sasuke could see that Ten wasn't even listening to him. Her focus was entirely on the blade as she slowly analyzed the weapon with a smile on his face. Strangely so, Sasuke found himself smiling at the scene. He instantly remembered the girl in the invasion fighting quite well against the opposition. He saw her finger passing by the area where the metal had a small dent and looked at him. That's the reason I came in your parents' store. I wanted that fixed. Ten nodded and quickly placed the order of repair to his father. Can you tell me what happened? Sasuke lifted an eyebrow at the question. If my father knows what to look for, the service will be done much faster. The Uchiha nodded. I was sparring against Naruto and his sword is made from the same metal. He channeled wind chakra to his sword, hardening the metal. After a couple of blows, my sword was like this. Once more he could see her face lighting up at the mention of Kinjutsu fight. Awesome. Hey, next time you two spar, can I come? The best way to improve in close combat is to practice against another foe, and I don't know anyone our age that fights with a weapon. Sasuke nodded as he saw the girl placing his order and then giving him the receipt. In 2 days you can come back. It will be perfect by then. My father instructs all his clients to do this every month so as to preserve the quality of the metal. Without it, yours gets rotten quite fast. Sasuke nodded, already having the thought in mind. She then turned to stare at him for a while before asking. So tell me what it's like to be a chunin. I bet you are doing much tougher assignments now, huh? Actually, Naruto and I only had one rather long mission so far outside the village. We followed Jiraiya of the Sannin in search for his teammate and another Sannin, Tsunade. When the name reached Tenten's ears, her eyes widened and she smiled once more. Sasuke, though, continued to report the mission. The mission took longer than Jiraiya expected, so he decided to train both me and Naruto in the meantime. Sasuke finished telling her the story and saw that she was still smiling at him. Great, now I envy you. You got to meet Tsunade-sama. She is the strongest kunoichi of all time. I want to be like her when I grow up. The Uchiha thought best than ruining the girl's dream. He wasn't that much impressed, to tell the truth. When they fought against her, Sasuke knew the woman could do more, but anyone with her experience should have dealt with the situation much faster. She had also received a great number of attacks. If Jiraiya were in her position, neither Sasuke nor Naruto would have a chance in hitting the guy, no matter if Sasuke had the Sharingan or Naruto had his clones to attack in multiple directions. Not to mention that the woman was a mess in every sort of way. Well, she has returned with us and is taking care of the wounded right now. You can go to the hospital and meet her there. Tenten was gone the next second, earning a smirk from Sasuke before leaving the store. At the hospital. Tsunade's first day in the hospital had surprised the Sannin. At first she assumed that the experience would be as painful as it has been since Jiraiya and the brats appeared in her life. However, it turned out that it was the complete opposite. Of course, she was back doing what she most treasured these days, healing people and bringing their health back. Jiraiya wasn't kidding when he said that the hospital was packed with the wounded. Luckily to the Sannin, the hospital staff had done a splendid job cleansing the blood and patching the wounds. It was a fear of hers when she approached this place. Ever since her lover's death, Tsunade had developed an illogical fear of blood. With her excellence in medical chakra, she was able to speed up the recovery of most and even heal the most critical cases. Bones were mended back together, damaged organs were repaired, and even inner bleedings were stopped. The woman was literally on fire as she healed one by one with a smile on her face. Another person that was having the time of her life was Tsunade's assistant Shizune. Tsunade couldn't help but smile at seeing her student's energy and enthusiasm. Shizune was restless, following Tsunade with the most critical cases, filling up the paperwork, talking with the patient's relatives. It was apparent that Shizune wanted to do this every day of her life. Tsunade realized that and began to think of what would happen when their job was finished. She was supposed to leave Konoha once the wounded from the invasion were duly treated. The Sannin felt trapped now. Despite loosening a bit, the pain of losing her loved ones was still there. It wouldn't ever fade, she realized, and staying in Konoha was even more painful. The logical side reasoned that she has been gone for too long and that the pain is large now that she reopened the wound. It was like opening a band-aid. On the other hand, now that she had returned to the village and began to heal the wounded, she wondered if perhaps leaving once more was the right course of action. I'm just surprised to see a member of the Sannin behaving like a coward. You just heard from Orochimaru that there are lots of injured people from the invasion. Injured people whose lives hangs in the balance because the only one who could treat them and save their lives is busy running away from whatever fate happened in her life. I know people in Konoha who have suffered as well but are still there fighting for what he or she believes. I, for instance, was born hated by the entire village and ostracized by everyone because of something I couldn't control. Sasuke here had his entire family murdered by his own brother. Our sensei Kakashi has lost everyone in his life and is now nominated Godame Hokage. Please tell me, lady, why do you think your pain is any worse or any different from the rest of the world? The image of Naruto saying these words made her blood boil at the time. She would never admit to the gaki, but the reason it hurt her deeply wasn't the sheer audacity of talking like that to her face. Every word the kid spoke had merit. Just imagining his fierce resolve made Tsunade question her own and leaving once more. Indeed, the ninja business is filled with pain, especially for those who lived as long as she did. A great number of shinobi and kunoichi had lost their loved ones due to one circumstance or another. She couldn't for the life of her imagine what her sensei went through. He outlived pretty much everyone in Konoha so far and still kept his head looking forward. I'm the Hokage Tsunade. If I don't show strength to my shinobi, then I'm not fit to lead them. Tsunade sighed at the memory of her sensei right after the Second Great Ninja War when lots of shinobi were killed. Indeed, her pain wasn't any different from others, just like the damn Gaki announced. She was now walking through the now empty halls searching for Shizune. She passed by one of the surgery rooms and looked through the mirror. Inside, her student Shizune was busy saving someone else's life. Tsunade smiled at the scene. She could see that despite the fierce resolve in her student's mind, Tsunade knew that Shizune was enjoying every minute of it. She could see the resolve, and in a way Shizune reminded her of herself back when she was Shizune's age. Moving on, Tsunade kept walking towards the empty and silenced hallway, now believing that perhaps staying in Konoha wouldn't be so bad after all. Of course she would have to constantly deal with pests such as the Gaki, but it was okay, she assumed. Tsunade-sama. The strange voice made the Sannin turn from her direction before she saw what appeared to be a brunette kunoichi wearing Chinese-style clothing. Yes.do, I know you. Tenten was immediately in front of the Sannin with a notepad and a pen. Tsunade just looked at the girl, wondering what was wrong with her. Sorry for interrupting, Tsunade-sama, but I was wondering if I could have your autograph. I'm a big fan. You are my biggest inspiration to become a stronger kunoichi. Tsunade still wished the girl would calm down somewhat, but she assumed that giving the autograph would shut the little girl up and make her leave. Not to mention that Tsunade enjoyed seeing another kunoichi's resolve in improving. Thus forcing a smile, Tsunade nodded at the girl and took the notepad with one hand and the pen with the other. Tenten was all too happy that the woman she most admired would give her autograph. Tsunade quickly gave her signature and then handed the notepad to Tenten. What's your name? Higurashi Tenten Tsunade-sama. Not a name. Tsunade recognized, meaning that the girl didn't belong to a shinobi clan. Nice to meet you, Tenten-san. Now tell me, how do you know I was here? Tenten looked at the Sannin, wondering about the question, while Tsunade just inclined closer to Tenten, still waiting for the answer. Well, a genin friend of mine told me you'd be here. His name is Uchiha Sasuke. Tenten was immediately alerted when a vein pulsed from Tsunade's forehead. She immediately wondered if she had somehow said something that set her off edge. Tsunade, for her part, was seeing red at the mention of one of the brats that were with her perverted teammate. I'm sorry, Tsunade-sama, but did I say anything that has upset you? Whatever it is, it wasn't my intention. Tsunade's ire subsided as she watched the girl that believed that she was mad because of what Tenten said. Well, yes, she did mention the name, but it wasn't anything like that. No, nothing really, it's just that I remembered I have to be someplace else. As expected, Tenten quickly nodded and left Tsunade alone. The Sannin could see the content look on the girl's face as she walked away. In a sense, Tsunade was hit with a sense of nostalgia as she remembered the times after the day when she was nominated a Sannin along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Back then, Tsunade was constantly pestered by the future generation of kunoichi. Back then, Shizune was perhaps this girl's age along with others that she remembered. They must be jounin by now, Tsunade mused. At the time, Tsunade remembered how she pestered her sensei into creating a special branch of metagnines in order to reduce the death toll on Konoha's shinobi. She had a lot of candidates with excellent chakra control at the time that were perfect for her ambition. Sadly, Sarutobi sensei denied her request, stating that it was war time and they didn't have the resources. Now, though, that the war is over, perhaps it was due time that Tsunade reiterated her request to the old man. Provided that she had decided to stay, the least she could do besides running the hospital is to train youngsters into becoming metagnines. Once leaving the hospital, confident of Shizune's more than capable hands, Tsunade went straight to the Hokage's office. At the Hokage's office, Tsunade didn't even bother waiting for the receptionist. She just opened the door to see the newly instated Hokage Hatake Kakashi alone in his office. Immediately, Tsunade's highly tuned senses could spot 4 powerful presences in the room obscured by the shadows. Normally, Sensei had 2 umbu inside his office responsible for the man's safety. She doubted that Kakashi was paranoid enough to increase security, so it meant that the extra 2 were conversing with the Hokage when she arrived. True to her deduction, Kakashi was indeed discussing with the two extra operatives. They were actually Umbu captains, highly experienced ones at that. He was to choose which one would be named the next commander of the Umbu branch, since the old one was as old as Sarutobi-sama and couldn't wait to retire from his position from the shadows. "So nice of you to drop by, Tsunade-sama. How may I be of service?" Tsunade lifted her eyebrow at the name. "Isn't this man the Hokage now?" As if reading her thoughts, Kakashi explained. "The official nomination will happen soon, but I'm not the Hokage yet." "Oh, I see. Well, you will be, so let's get straight to the point." Kakashi nodded, since this way the woman would be gone soon and he could have time for some reading afterward. "I have decided to stay in Konoha and run the hospital like it should." "That's good to hear. Sandame-sama will be pleased with the decision. I can tell though that you desire my attention for something else." The woman smirked. Kakashi may be relatively young for the position, but the man was considered the elite of Konoha's Jounin program for a reason. "A long time ago, near the end of the Second Great Ninja War, I have requested for Sarutobi-sensei to create a branch of field medic means capable of healing the wounded right in the middle of the mission. They would be field capable as well, acting as support for the others as well." At the time, Sensei thought that the request, although valid, would demand resources that the village didn't have at the time. Kakashi nodded, remembering his father mentioning about it in the past. He already knew what the woman wanted but allowed Tsunade to continue. "Now, as I'm staying in the village, I figured it is a right time for us to create this new branch of field-ready medic nin." Kakashi nodded at the woman. "Like I said before, Tsunade-sama, I'm not the Godame Hokage officially. I know for a fact that many have perished in the field because of light injuries that weren't properly treated. Once the hat is officially mine, we will continue this discussion so that we can create this new school of medic nins. I trust that you're offering to run this program." Tsunade nodded with a smile on her face as Kakashi continued. "I'll go even further and try to implement first aid knowledge in the academy for our future generations." Tsunade nodded, more pleased with herself. At the time, she was furious that her request had been denied by Sensei. However, now she admitted, even if reluctantly, that the timing just wasn't right. Medical ninjutsu is a complex art that demands almost perfect chakra control and years of experience. In the midst of war, she couldn't train anyone long enough to reach a mastery of her liking. Tsunade was about to leave when she looked at Kakashi one more time. One more thing, I'd like to commend your teaching skills in training those two. They managed to hold their own against me for far longer than most high-level Chunin and even low-level Jounin could." Kakashi smirked at the praise but found that the credit wasn't his. "Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto were indeed part of my genin squad, but their skills aren't attributed to my teachings. Sasuke was already a prodigy when he graduated, and Naruto had the stamina and chakra to overcome all of his weaknesses on his own. None of their skills were taught by me." Tsunade noticed sadness in the man's words. "Their teamwork is matched only by high-level shinobi, and I know that you preach about this more than anything else. If anything, their teamwork now is a testament to their sensei." Kakashi smirked at that and nodded at the woman in appreciation. "Am I excused, Hokage-sama?" Kakashi nodded with a smile at the woman before she left the room. 1 week later. Naruto and Anko were seen leaving the Forest of Death, where Naruto had trained like hell to improve his skills with the help of the Tokubetsu Jounin. His clothes were ragged, but the smile on his face was evidence that his training bore fruit. Naruto had perfected earth manipulation, being able to produce an earth wall technique just like an earth user could. The Tsuchi Bunshin, mud clone technique, was easy to learn as well after he understood the theory behind it, thanks to the amount of hours he had of training. He also learned other mud-oriented techniques that acted as support, like the one named Dotondori Taiga, Earth Release Earth Flow River technique, that created a river of mud below the opponent. The enemy would slip and fall, allowing Naruto to move for the kill with his sharp wind techniques. Those happened to be now much more powerful because of his wind training. He managed to learn a technique from Anko, which was actually a creation of Shikamaru's sensei Sarutobi Asuma. Futon Fujin no Jetsu, wind release dust cloud technique, was a deadly friend assault meant to send a strong burst of cutting dust. After testing against some trees, Naruto couldn't help but imagine the amount of pain a human would be in once hit by the technique. Aside from that, he hadn't incorporated more techniques to his arsenal, preferring to train in pure wind manipulation. According to Anko, Naruto was ready for the second part and he agreed to find a waterfall one of these days and finish his wind manipulation. Last but not least was the Rasengan. After 2 days using the clones, Naruto managed to perform the technique using a clone to aid him. He needed to do it by himself though. By the end of the week he couldn't manage to use it alone, but he was certain that it won't take long. He managed to hold it one time, but the energy dispelled 2 seconds after gathering. His Kenjutsu skills had also improved as he continuously fought against Anko. He even managed to draw blood from her a couple times. She even sent a couple of snakes after him that were brutally sliced because of the wind chakra that Naruto channeled to the sword now, like it was second nature to him. All in all, Naruto couldn't help but be proud of the skills he had acquired and how much his weaknesses were decreasing. Right now he could guess that the only downside was Genjutsu. Anko tried to teach him to break them, but he only managed to disrupt the lower level ones. A C-ranked illusion would catch him off guard for the time being. Okay Gaki, I'm going to get some rest now. Hope we can get some missions together soon. Naruto nodded with a smile on his face. Thanks for helping me this entire week, Ankone. One thing that changed between the two during the week was their bond with one another. After training, Anko found it amusing to tease the young Chunin, and Naruto for his part told her stories of his pranks in the past. Naruto had actually called Anko like his sister in the 4th day, and she found it was quite nice to have a little brother that annoyed her. She now understood why her friend Hana enjoyed messing with her little brother Kiba. Naruto had also enjoyed the notion of having an older sister. Someone he could come to for advice in life, both the shinobi life and the personal life as well. He smiled once more to his big sister and turned to leave to his apartment and change into some new clothes. He didn't get too far though when he saw Sasuke walk towards him together with a girl that Naruto only knew of as the female on the same genin team as Lee and Hyuga Niji. You look like you got one hell of a beating, Dobe. When are you going to learn that you're nothing but a loser? Naruto only smirked at the jab as he knew that Sasuke enjoys messing with him. Stop dreaming, team. I just worked my ass off training, that's all. I had trained at the Forest of Death for a week. Sasuke nodded as he could tell from looking at Naruto. Sasuke had trained as well, perfecting his lightning release techniques. Tenten though looked at the blonde Chunin. Are you crazy? You went in there by yourself? Naruto lifted his eyebrow at the woman, who couldn't help but blush since she practically shouted. Sorry about that, but the place is dangerous, even more so on your own. Now there are some tranquil places in there. Besides, I wasn't alone, Ankone was with me. Naruto looked at the two in front of him and smirked deviously. Anko has gotten to him after all. So team, what are you two doing together? Are you on date or something? Sasuke just snorted at the insinuation, but Naruto could see that Tenten had a slight blush on her face at the question. He smirked at this, promising to gather more material for blackmail in the future. Actually, I was looking for you to train in Kenjutsu, and Tenten here asked if she could tag along. Naruto nodded. He was about to go home, but he guessed he could beat the team a bit. You have a place in mind, or we can go back to the Forest of Death and train. Naruto laughed his ass off when Tenten turned pale. Sasuke found it amusing as well. We are going to our team's training ground, Sasuke said, earning a nod from Naruto, who was still laughing a bit, infuriating a still red Tenten. The two Chunin and one Genin took 10 minutes walking towards the training ground. Once there, Tenten chose to sit in one of 3 logs while she saw Sasuke and Naruto staring at each other with their swords drawn. The Kunoichi was surprised that Sasuke had activated the Sharingan from the start. She was familiar with dojutsu prodigies. Niji would only use the Byakugan when the opponent was serious, and he never started the fight with the Byakugan activated. She knew only rumors about Naruto's full capabilities, having only seen his performance in the Chunin exams. She didn't know how strong he was now. She watched Sasuke's sword sparkling with blue energy and gasped. Channeling elemental chakra to a sword was a very rare ability. She started to doubt that this was merely a spar between comrades. She gasped once more once Naruto's sword now had chakra surrounding it as well. She then remembered that the reason that Sasuke's sword was damaged was because of Naruto's. Her sensei always stopped Lee and Neji when the match became too fierce to be called a spar. Right now no one was around to stop these two from going at each other's throats. She got the feeling though from looking at their faces that they were enjoying this. Naruto was the one who started the attack with a different kata than Sasuke recognized. His sword was positioned inches from Sasuke's shoulder. Sasuke was surprised by the move since Naruto managed to quickly enter his guard and kill him if the move was finished. His Sharingan was the one that anticipated it though and placed his sword in a vertical position close to his arm, thus blocking the path of Naruto's sword. However, Sasuke knew that if Naruto wanted he could kill Sasuke before he got to position his sword to defend. "You've gotten a lot faster." Tenten found that to be an understatement. She couldn't even see them moving. "I'll have to increase my speed then," Sasuke said as he created some distance between the two before attacking this time. Naruto defended it with a smile. "I wouldn't have it any other way, team." At night, when the moon came up, those that didn't have plans went straight to their homes to rest for the day. The others were busy meeting their friends, going out on dates, filling the bars and restaurants. The village had a few guards that were patrolling the outer walls, including Umbu personnel. Ever since the invasion, Sandaime had increased the number of patrols and even changed their routes so that enemies who had prior knowledge of the system couldn't use it to infiltrate anymore. Because of this, the elite of Orochimaru named Sound 4 actually had to work twice as hard in order to get inside the village without getting noticed. Even so, they were spotted by a Jounin who tried to escape in order to warn the others. The Sound 4 had to deal with him fast before continuing their assignment. Once inside, the group managed to reach their destination and found their target walking with his hands inside his pockets. They would have to follow him until he entered in a more secluded location. Uchiha Sasuke walked back to his apartment completely unaware of the opposition he was about to face.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and like everywhere on my channel.